few other people to join. Welcome, everybody. And so today's presenter is Marco Martínez. He's going to be talking about Nginx. And a little bit about Marco. He's a software engineer and has been at Nextiva Mexico from the very beginning. Something else you may find interesting is that Marco has been unsuccessfully trying to make coffee for the past 3 months. So if there's anybody on the call that is a coffee maker, we may want to help him out. So before we get started, just a reminder that the session is meant to be interactive. So feel free to ask questions. And I know Marco's got a few places in his presentation where he's prepared to pause and have some conversations. So you can either drop your questions in chat or just unmute yourself and ask them. And also, just as a reminder, we want to encourage any of you that are interested in presenting to reach out to either Norma or me, and we'll help get it arranged. We've really loved, especially with the working from home, we've really loved these Devs and Bytes. It's an opportunity for people to present, as well as a great opportunity to learn. So if you've got something you'd like to share, don't hesitate to reach out, and we can get you scheduled. So that's all I've got to say. I am going to hand it over to Marco and let him start.
Good. Hey guys. So yeah, let's get started with some Nginx. Well, as you may know, Nginx is a web server and load balancer application that handles pretty good many requests. It was developed to fix the C10K problem, which is to process 10K requests concurrently. It was proposed back in 1999, and Nginx fixed it 5 years later in 2004. And we'll get to know why it has been used since then and why it's a very useful tool for all of us, even backend or front-end developers. Okay, so this is what we're going to go through, just about Nginx, just the very basics, what it is and what it does. It does serve static content, and we use it at Nextiva to serve static content as well. We deploy it with Jenkins, and we somehow use it as a reverse proxy. We can use it as well as an orchestration layer, and we can redirect any other requests like cores, for example, which is always a pain. And that's just the very beginning of Nginx. It can do much more. Okay, so again, Nginx is commonly used as a reverse proxy and load balancer to manage incoming traffic and distribute it to slower upstream servers, which means that we can use many load balancer capabilities or implementations from Nginx. The most common is round robin. We can use weighted or least connection or hashing or some other more advanced load balancing techniques on Nginx Plus, but you have to pay for Nginx Plus. So we'll only cover the open source Nginx. Okay. Now, as from 2019, Nginx is one of the most used web servers by the most popular web servers. Oh crap, I forgot to click %. Okay, so it's one of the most used web servers, and it even replaced Apache as the first place. So that's pretty interesting. If anyone else has used Apache before, it's just a server which handles dynamic and static content. And about Nginx, well, again, Nginx can serve static content, reverse proxy and load balancer. Oh, I think I've already said that. Nice. Okay, so here's one example of how one of the major image providers, it's called Imgur, uses it. You can look it up. It's just for memes and cats, but it handles lots of requests daily. It's not even on the millions. It's more than that. So and they actually use Nginx for all of their clusters. Well, not for Elasticsearch and Redis because they already have their own cluster. But the incoming request has an Nginx and HA proxy, and the static content Nginx, the image cluster Nginx. So Nginx is pretty useful for load balancing, which is how they use it here. Their static content is stored in S3 and then just retrieve it by an asynchronous task with Nginx. So this is one of the many examples of where Nginx is used. We use it at Nexiva at the platform applications, and we'll see a little more about that later on. So
Marco, quick question. What is the main difference between Apache and Nginx?
Oh, well, the difference, the main difference for me is that Apache loads dynamic content and Nginx doesn't. Nginx only serves static and retrieves other and proxies other requests, sorry, but doesn't handle dynamic content. So it's only used for one purpose, and that's it. And Apache has a lot of submodules that handle the dynamic content and makes it a little more heavy on the memory side and the connections. So we can see that here on this comparison between Apache and Nginx. You see that as many requests as it gets, the concurrent connections are getting lower compared to the Apache. Oh, sorry, are getting up compared to the Apache. And on the memory side, Nginx actually holds a lower memory footprint than Apache, which serves a lot because Nginx performs better and uses less memory than Apache at every level of concurrency. So that means that we actually need less servers on Nginx than we would need on Apache. So that makes everything cheaper and easier to maintain. Okay, so we want to know how do we use it as a backend developer. So the first example that we're gonna see is using it as a reverse proxy. So for this, I already got some code here, and we'll start by explaining the Docker configuration, which is pretty simple. We already got an Nginx image on Alpine version, and we are copying our configuration on the conf folder, nginx.conf, to the configuration that Nginx will use. We're redirecting our 8080 port to the one from Docker, and 8000 to the 80 for Docker. Okay, so let's, now we can open this file. So this is again, this is a basic configuration from Nginx. Right here, we are listing an upstream server, like a variable, let's say, and we're listing a server. This is the part that will actually handle our application. So location, we're doing -test and proxy read timeout 3 minutes. Proxy pass will redirect any request that gets from -test to our server. This is my local machine, and I set up a basic server here. It's written in Express. It just responds what up for any request. So it's pretty simple. I'll set that up here. No. Okay. So now it's listening on port 3000. Let's make a request to it. Okay, we don't have anything on 8080. Oh, what's this? Our actual server is on port 3000. So let's just make that request. Okay. So now it's returning a web response, and we're just calling our server directly. But what happens if it's a different server? What happens if it's not my machine and I want to do another request on a different port? Then I can use, then I can run my Docker file. Here it is. I'll just run a Docker PS to make sure nothing else is running. Ooh. Okay. Just remove this. I really want to say it. Docker PS again. Nothing else is running. And I'm at reverse proxy. Okay, here's our Docker file, server, and conf. So I'll just do a Docker compose up. Build. Okay. So now it's up and running. And if I change this part to the port that I specified on my Nginx configuration, I said 8080. I'll just do 8080 test. I'm getting a quite up response, but you may notice that it's not the same port that I'm asking on my server, on my local server. I'm actually sending that request to Nginx, and Nginx does it on my behalf to that server. So we can see a different example. On a more interesting example, I might add, on the static. Let me explain the static first. So let's say we will actually want only a server. We want a whole web page. We want to bypass a CDN or any restricted web that I might encounter. So this is my Docker Compose again. It's pretty simple. It's basically the same as before. I'm just copying my configuration file to the one that Nginx needs. And I want to access Google. But my web provider or anyone could have blocked Google. Let's say I'm in China and I don't have access to it. So I could just create an Nginx server on the cloud and access it like this. So again, first, let's explain configuration. I'm listening on the port 8080. I'm bypassing anything that comes to port 8080 on the route to Google.com. I'm saying some errors because Google requests them, like user agent, real IP, accepted calling, accept language, or even referrer. Okay, so I'm gonna serve this, and we want to actually do a local host on 8080. And now I'm accessing Google through Nginx. You see all the requests that come here are the ones that I am asking from my browser to Nginx, and then Nginx goes to Google and retrieves it for me. We can see that here on this diagram. My browser is asking the Nginx proxy, and Nginx goes to Google. Well, that's one example. Goes to Google and retrieves that for me. That's a pretty nice example. I can do any search. Test. Oh man, speed test. And that's it. It actually works as a proxy, and it's loading all of these. It's redirecting all of my requests through Nginx to Google and back. So that's a pretty neat use of a reverse proxy. So we could do it. We could use it only as a reverse proxy, and there are many usages for cores, or let's setting up a front end and then a back end on the same page, on the same computer, and then just redirecting them because we might not want to edit some backend applications or ports. Now that I believe this is kind of basic, but if anyone's got something to add or ask, then please do. Good. So I'll continue with load balancing. So load balancing is one of my favorite features of Nginx because it's really easy to set up any kind of load balancing. So back here on this configuration, I only stated one server. And that's kind of sad because maybe my application grows and I need an extra server. What I would need to do is just register a new server, and that's it. Nginx will automatically load this server and do a round robin by default. Well, I might need to restart, but Nginx again has some graceful restart when it doesn't actually turns off completely, but keeps handling the request, the last request that it got. So I just got one extra server. I got a redundancy server here, and let's run it. See what it does. Okay, so I got the 3000 running here, and I'll get the 4000 running here. And again, let's test them out. We'll host 3000. Whoop. And I'm getting a web up, and it's logging that it got a request. And if I try a 4000, then I'm getting, hey, this is a redundancy server. And I got the request here. Again, let's try the load balancing capabilities of Nginx. All right, so you might remember that we don't want any of those ports. We want 8080 because that's the one we specified here, 8080, and on this URI /test. So the first one, we got a well up response, but let's do it again. Whoop. And then we got the redundancy server. And if we keep on doing it, we got one for the 4000 port and one of the redundancy. And that was pretty easy. We didn't even have to do any weird configuration to get a round robin request, to get a round robin load balancing capability. There are more configurations. There's the least connection, which again, we only have to specify the least con, and it will do it for us. We can do an IP hash, which creates a hash based on our IP and redirects that to any server. and we can do weighted. So if I specify this here, and we get 6 requests, 6 requests, 5 will go to 3,000, and 1 to 4,000. So that's a common usage of these Nginx capabilities. Let's use the backup here on our configuration. What backup means is that Nginx will only use the server in case this one is down. So I'll save this configuration. I'll restart my server. Okay, so let's clear these requests. And I'm getting a what up. Even if my server is registered on the first, even if the redundant server is registered here, it won't actually work unless the 3,000 is down. So let's turn it off and see what Nginx does. So I just means that there's a typo here. But this is pretty neat. We didn't even have to do anything else than write down backup to this server definition. That's a very powerful feature of Nginx. I think that covers a little more about load balancing. Of course, we can have sticky cookie or sticky root. These are, I believe, from Nginx Plus. We have to pay for it, but it's pretty useful. A sticky cookie registers a cookie on the first request, and then sticks that cookie to a server. Like sticky sessions from Apache Tomcat, and sticky root works kind of the same. So that's it for backend usage. Of course, we can reuse it to do some management course errors or return anything specifically for any HTTP request or HTTP verb. But that's what I wanted to go for this. Now let's switch up to the front end usage. This is very useful for front end developers because we can serve static content on Nginx, and that's what we mostly do on our Nexiva applications, like Platform or some other React-based apps. So let's there we go, server here. Here's the static content. Now let's explain a little more on the Docker Compose here. Let's see. Okay, so this again looks kind of the same, but we added this line here on the Docker configuration. So what this part actually means is that we want to copy, we want to mount the static directory to this other directory on the Docker container. So let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. It's not the one. Oh, well, back to the backup configuration. Nginx logged that the 3,000 server was down, and it started serving from the 4,000. Okay. Let's load the setting content. And to compose YAML static and conf. Yeah, this is good. Let's do a docker compose up into static content. So before actually loading this page, let's see what we got at that Docker container. So let's do Docker. Let's access this container, and we want to go to this root, var www.nextiva.com. And we got our index, we got a backup that we're going to use later, and we've got some static files. So everything, any static content will be on this directory. So whenever you're troubleshooting as a front end, like maybe my styles are not loading up, or maybe this image is not on the folder where it's supposed to be, then you can access the Nginx server, well, at least on that, and check by yourself where is it, or if it's or if it even exists, or when was the last time it was updated. Okay, so let's clear this up and let's load it. Just as a heads up, it looks like a CSS file is missing for me, so it might look weird. A little, just a little. Yeah, kind of looks weird. But we're getting everything from Nginx. I'll reload again and let's check the network tab. Okay. So everything is being loaded from localhost 8000, which is the port that we are using. Oh, these are not. They're from Nextiva. Oh, come on. Oh, weird. Oh, yeah. At least we're getting some static files from here. Okay, so we're loading almost everything from Nextiva, unless it was loaded from the index.html from a different page. So then that's what's going to happen. But the jQuery and Bootstrap are going to be loaded from Nginx, and we can see that here. Like this Bootstrap. We're returning this Bootstrap from Nginx from our directory Nextiva static files. So let's simulate a deployment. Let's say we don't want to say that it's the rate-based business phone system by everyone, but oh, hold on, I think I missed that part. Okay, based by US News. Okay, so by everyone. So our index says that it's a rated best business phone system by everyone. But originally it had the best business phone system by US News. So that's what we're going to try and change with our simulated deployment. So let's move index.html to index.html backup 2, and then we'll replace it with index.html backup. So we just switch these files. We didn't do anything weird. We just switched the backup to be the original one, and the original one to be the backup. If we try and reload this we updated it by rated best business phone system by US News. And we didn't even need to restart Nginx. We didn't even need to do anything weird or any other command. We just replaced the file with the one that we want Nginx to serve. And it was pretty simple. Nginx loads it here, and it's very straightforward and seamless, I might say, by serving this static content. And it's truly easy to serve this content just with this simple configuration on our Nginx one. We tell Nginx to listen on port 8000, and it's going to be called default server. And when we say root, is where all our files are going to be stored. So again, this is very useful for front-end developers because they can just access their Nginx configuration and see the folder or the directory where their code is supposed to be. Then, if you want to troubleshoot, you can just access that folder, which we already did here. And that's the front-end usage. Do you guys want me to do an extra step or simulate any other deployment that you might have encountered, or try a new load balancer technique, see what it does? I really want to try the configuration here. Let's do the wait one on reverse proxy.
Also, if anyone has questions, just go ahead and ask Marco.
So now we're going to try the weighted load balancer on Nginx. Let's see. Oh, we want this server up. Okay. We want to turn this off. Okay, compose up. And we'll do a curl. Oh. See. Yep. We got 5 requests, and the 6th one was the redundancy. So we got 3 before, but let's see if it's consistent. Yep. Yeah, it's consistent. For every 6 requests, 5 will go to the first one, and 1 will go to the other one. One common scenario where this might come in play is when we get weird responses from our backend. Like, let's say one request fails, but the other one succeeds, and then and it goes on and on, right? Like one succeeds, one fails, one succeeds, one fails. Then we can go ahead and try the Nginx configuration and see if one of our servers is down, because that looks like a round-robin configuration, and one of our servers is surely down. That's some quick troubleshooting on Nginx. And we can, of course, change this, we can declare another upstream. Let's do backend. Let's do some orchestration. And we want the server down here. So I will register 2 servers. Well, 2 upstreams, sorry, and we want to register a new location. Org. We want this again, and orchestration. Now we just registered 2 different endpoints for 2 different servers. So we're using Nginx as an orchestration. Well, as a reverse proxy, sorry. It's not an orchestration service. Now that we got it here, we have to restart our Nginx. We're at reverse proxy. Yes, we are. We got our servers up. Yep. And we want to try test again. And if we want to try org. Okay. So it's pretty easy to redirect these kind of services to a different URI, test and org. And Nginx will do the rest for us with these 25 lines configuration. So it's pretty powerful. I really enjoy doing Nginx stuff. And, if anyone has any doubt so far, please ask. I think that's mostly it. Thanks. Oh, yeah.
Marco, there's a couple questions in chat.
Yeah. Yeah, we can add restrictions to, well, Ulysses asks if we can add restriction rules to avoid or block requests going to some pages. And yeah, we can restrict even URLs or sites here based on, hold on, we can use some, oh man, I just forgot the name. Regex here on the locations. So if someone asks for any other location, like let's say, I've never been good at regex, but let's try some weird. Let's say someone wants to ask for something red, and we don't really like stuff that's red. So we could do, hold on, oh man. We could do some regex to restrict all requests that contains red to going on into our orchestration layer, or by query params, or we can restrict as well by headers, by cookies. If there's a request that doesn't have any cookie, or if it doesn't have any cookie, we could remove it, or we could add it with the proxy set header param. So we could go into the configuration file. Just remove that. Yeah, we could just set headers. Like there's the infamous non-SSO true for Nextiva, which has caused many headaches for me in the past. And we could just inject that header into our request. This might not be the correct syntax, but you get the idea on how to set headers. So it's pretty powerful. It's kind of it's kind of straightforward, but sometimes you have to look into the documentation and see if there's something that's already done for what you want.
Marco, we have another question from Heather. If you can help us read it, please.
Sure. Given the nature of the way we currently deploy stuff at Nextiva into our clusters, could we use Nginx reverse proxy to achieve a zero downtime when deploying to a productive environment? Yes, I believe we already do at some applications. We don't do it for all of them, but we have something configured for some applications that have the production A and production B. We start by draining the resources from one server and redirecting those requests to the new one, to the newly deployed one. That's something that we haven't done in the past couple months, but I believe it's there. It's something that we would like to try, definitely, for more applications, and not just the ones that are that we already got there. Oh, yeah, of course. Well, sticky sessions are a concept that that we get from other web servers. Oh, sorry. I was asked to expand more on sticky sessions. So the way that I'm most familiar with sticky sessions is by doing this. For example, I'm just copy this one and try 6,000. So let's say we got one request. I don't really want to edit this part, but yeah, no problem. So we got a request, and our server gives this request session ID. That's how Tomcat does it. You may have noticed that when you have some requests from Tomcat, you got a gate session ID. Well, that's a session that identifies your that's the ID that identifies your session within the servers. So you've got a gate session ID, and there's a hash here. There's a weird hash. It always is. So based on this hash, the load balancer identifies which server your request should go to. So you can have, well, that's for sticky sessions. So all your session, while you have this on your headers or as a cookie, I believe Tomcat does it as a cookie. If you have this as a cookie, then all of your requests will go to this server. It doesn't matter if it's a round-robin configuration or if it's a weighted configuration. It doesn't really matter, because we're saying that for this session will go to this server. Is tied to it. And there are some other ways to tie this kind of request, like IP hash. You can create a hash based on your IP and send it to one server, or you could create a hash based on your URL. Like, let's say all of the requests with this URL. So it wouldn't be an actual request. It would be an URL like Nextiva dash platform. Then we calculate a hash based on this, and we redirect all of this, all of these requests to one of these servers. And that is not completely sticky, but it's an alternative to having the session like this. And well, if this server goes down, then your session is lost, and we have to start again by I believe the server sends you a logout warning, and you have to start again the logging, and you get assigned a new session ID, and that's how you get assigned to a new server if this goes down. So that's the way that Template does it. That's something that Nginx can do as well. We can do it based on cookies. Cookie, yeah, I believe that's it. Okay. So does anyone got any other question?
So if there's no other questions, thank you everybody for joining us. And Marco, thank you so much for taking the time to put together this presentation and to share it with us. Again, just a reminder, the opportunity is there for anyone that wants to become a presenter. Just reach out to Norma or I. And we will be sharing the recording of this presentation tomorrow. So just keep your eye out for it if there was part of it that you may have missed. So other than that, everybody have a great night, and thank you for being here.